Hello everyone, welcome to another video on the Chess Total channel, and today I'm going to show you some of the most incredible gambits we have in chess. Alright? These gambits are different, they're cool, and you can use them in classical games, and also if you study some of them thoroughly, you can use them in blitz or rapid games as well. Okay guys? Let's start looking at this first gambit with you now, which is the Vienna Gambit. It's offered kind of like the King's Gambit, except after you've developed this knight here, alright? You come back and you gain several tempos. Take a look at how you can already recover material and really dominate the center. The idea behind this Vienna Gambit is quite well accepted, because it doesn't put your game at much risk, and if your opponent doesn't make the right moves, you'll be completely winning and in full control, alright guys? Now let's move on to the next gambit. The gambit now is the Stamford, and it consists of letting your opponent capture. You take the knight, one more, and develop the bishop, and now you make this sacrifice here. If your opponent actually accepts this queen, then you've essentially won the game at this point, because there's this immediate and powerful attack with the bishop, and then after that a checkmate with the other bishop will follow, as you can see. Pretty cool, right? It's different, isn't it? This checkmate, but you can definitely use it. Alright. Let's check out the next gambit we have here for you. This one now is the Benko Gambit, folks. The Benko Gambit that I'm going to show you, it's actually usable, you know? You can play it. It's a solid gambit and pretty tough to play against, because your opponent has to make the best moves. So you'll be opening up this side of yours so you can later bring your rooks over here, both in the endgame and during piece development. Look at how developed you are. Your pieces are developed. You already have 2 pieces developed, while your opponent only has this knight here, which is still on squares that aren't developed yet, right? So now let's see what happens next. If your opponent tries to, you know, open up this square for the bishop, you go there and attack. The king has already lost the right to castle. You've taken control. You've castled safely, and you've also got control of the center here, right? Let's keep going. So we can see how the king had to move out, right, in order to try to take control of the center. And now the knight makes this maneuver, so you can dominate the center and get this piece on the advanced square. If he trades, it's bad for him. So he moves away, and you move your knight to a better square. He tries to chase your knight away, you retreat. And now, like I said, this rook here is going to start working. So here, look, you've locked it up. He can't capture, because if he does, you come in here capturing, and now your rook is going to come in. So it's a gambit that's very active. It's consistent, really consistent, for you to play against a player who's sometimes even stronger, right? Who isn't expecting this gambit from you. Okay, guys? So now let's move on to the next gambit. The next gambit is the Blackarredeemer Gambit. It consists of you sacrificing this pawn on e4. It's very surprising, right? The person won't be expecting this from you. You go ahead and you'll be bringing something new to your opponent, something they don't expect to happen. So if they take it, you'll start developing your pieces, and as you develop them, you'll begin to attack your opponent. This bishop here is fundamental, because the idea is to bring this bishop so it can enter this square here and create an opening for this knight. Meanwhile, by castling queenside, right? By castling queenside, you'll be able to bring a rook. This rook will come over here, and then, right, once it's here, you'll be able to bring it to do this. Alright everyone, so let's go. Let's see if you look. We've already castled queenside, brought the other rook to the center. And now this is what's great about this gambit, because you got faster development in exchange for a pawn, right? And now you have a very strong counter-attack. Alright everyone, this gambit is really quite strong now. And now let's go ahead and show a classic trap. If he decides to take here, right in this particular spot, you can actually do this move, and it's a checkmate which now comes on the board, right? This is a variation when you took with the queen. He took with the queen here, you play the bishop, you castle queenside. Here, he's going to move this bishop to try to capture your queen, and when you come in, play the knight, and when he tries to take here, right? You checkmate. All right, let's redo it here so you can see how it works. And now if you take with the queen, right? Let's take with the queen. Last time we saw taking with the knight, now taking with the queen. This is the part that I think is the most aggressive. I even recommend for those who want a more aggressive play to take with the queen and go into these lines, because you have the queen coming in here, right? You have the queen coming in here, and now you have the bishop coming in here. Even if he doesn't fall for this trap, you have a lot of things happening, and this rook on this open file. So this trap is simple to set up. Checkmate, the game is simply over. Alright guys, great. Now let's move on to our next gambit. England. This England is when your opponent plays d4 and you immediately play e5. It's surprising, but yeah, it's not that good. Only if your opponent doesn't know all the traps. Usually they play this knight here, right? And you bring out your queen to win it back, and it's only defended once. You bring out your queen, and now you've managed to attack here, attacking the bishop and attacking here. The right move is for them to bring the bishop back here, otherwise they lose the bishop. And now, what do? Here you go. The correct move is here with the knight. If he brings the bishop here, right? If he brings the bishop here, that's where the trap happens, which I'll show you. There you go. And now you bring this bishop over here, and at this point you've already won. You've already won if he tries to defend here. Because if he protects, you take, and here it's simply checkmate. Alright guys, it's simply checkmate. There's a move that I've been doing for a long time, which is if he takes, if he defends with the knight. Let me show you here, yeah. If he defends with the knight, there's a variation. If you sometimes just want to practice play with two pieces against the queen, if he does that, you can do this here. Look, this is just for you to practice, okay? You're playing with pieces, I mean two pieces against the queen, because it's harder. So now the game will continue right as usual. He's got an O. If you look here at his advantage, he's only 1 point ahead. It's harder to play, but you can practice this way. If you want to practice, play against a lesser piece, this is good for you to train, right? And here the game will go on, right? In this kind of position, what do you have to do? You need to have the advantage in attack. You have to be the one dictating the rules of the game. So you need to move this bishop out, put it over here, usually place a knight here, castle, and you have to be the one going on the offensive. You can't just wait passively, otherwise your opponent will set up a position against you. Alright everyone, let's go then, quickly. Guys, this here is the Goodly Gambit. It's just for you to get the king out of castling, right? And you're preparing to make some entrances on stage. You traded queens, you still have castling, but you have some options with the bishop here, okay? Let's go to the next one, to our next gambit, Cruen Gambit. This one is from the birds, right? From the bird opening. You sacrifice the pawn so you can gain development, and here you won the game with this attack, right? It's pretty simple, and people will hardly ever fall for this, okay? And now my favorite gambit, let's go to the next gambit, which is my favorite, the King's Gambit. The King's Gambit is quite complex. There's a video where I show a game playing it, and so if your opponent defends you, the rule of the King's Gambit is to go on the attack. No matter how you go for it, you don't, if you're afraid to play aggressively, you shouldn't play the King's Gambit, right? With the King's Gambit, you really go all in. You know, bring out your pieces and go for it without any fear of attacking, right? And if your opponent keeps playing passively, you keep pressing, you go for it. You bring another bishop into the attack here. So no fear. If your opponent is passive, you keep putting pressure on them with active moves. And here, yeah, you can't stop. Just keep attacking your opponent, and at some point you'll see that it's going to work out, alright guys? Now, this is the most solid gambit. The gambit played at a high level. The gambit that, well, people like to play because it's not a bad gambit. A lot of gambits put you at a disadvantage, they leave you at a disadvantage, but in exchange for what? What do you gain with the gambit? You need the opponent needs to know how to play correctly, and some moves are like that, computer moves, where the person has to know exactly where to go. And then in this gambit, the Queen's Gambit, it's a gambit where you're actually fine. Even though you're playing a gambit, you're not losing any advantage. You're actually in a good position, and you've managed to open up so your pieces can come out, right? You've managed to control the center and you're in a good position, right? And here, look at this development, everyone. Look at this development. Notice how well you're controlling the center. You have your knights out, you have your bishop developed. So it's really good. It's a great gambit for anyone who wants to play consistently, even in tournament openings. Alright everyone, now let's move on to the Budapest. The Budapest Gambit is a gambit where you give up this pawn on a4-5 in exchange for having some tricks up your sleeve. Check this out. So if he takes this queen here, it's checkmate. So it's more or less based on this principle, right? Of course there's a lot more to it at a higher level, but I'm just showing you some of the tricks that exist in this gambit. It's also considered a good gambit, a gambit that's regarded as good, alright? Now, the Evans Gambit, Kasparov used to play it a lot. It's this gambit here, where you give up this pawn. Why? You give up this pawn because you force the bishop to move, and by doing that you gain these tempos here, which strengthens your center, alright? So when they take it, you're able to do this. Look at what you've done to your center. See how much stronger your center is, and you only lost a pawn, yes, but you gained control of the center, which gives your pieces more activity, and you achieved a lot of development. Look, you have 1, 2, your bishop, look at this diagonal, your bishop controls, see how aggressive it is, your knight is already ready to come out, your queen is already set to come over here to join the attack with your bishop. So you traded a pawn for an attack, which means your opponent really needs to know how to play this position well. If they don't know how to play this, if they don't defend properly, they're definitely going to lose. They're really going to lose, because you have to know the theory well to win here. Alright everyone, Latvian Gambit. Yeah, take a look here folks. You're gonna deliver this one, right? It's riskier, because at a high level people will know how to refute this. And this one is just a trick, just to show how it works, right? Because there are a lot of complications in it. It's much more difficult, but you can study it a lot, because you'll be able to control the center, but it's riskier. Okay. This one is the Schliemann. Shall we take a look at the Schliemann Gambit? And it's played by black, right? Black plays here, and you need to know how to counter it. And this is a trick in case someone plays it against you. The king will have to move now, right? And you can deal with this just fine. Alright everyone, Danish Gambit. You're gonna sacrifice this. Gambit is also good, you know, very good. You can play this even at a high level, because you gain development. So if you know how to handle this gambit well, you'll be able to recover the piece, right? You'll be able to get this bishop back, and you'll be controlling the center. So let me go back here to show you that you sacrifice this pawn in the Danish and you get development, right? While your opponent is busy capturing your pieces, you'll be sending pieces into the attack and developing your position. So here, he's focused on capturing pieces while you're focused on developing yours. So you already have 2 pieces out, then a third, and now you drive away one of his pieces that's controlling the center. This knight is covering these squares, and you chase it away in exchange for central control, right? Central control and already recovering your pawn. Alright? Halloween. This one is really crazy, but it can work. Sometimes you have to take risks, you have to go all in, and the Halloween Gambit will show you that it can be a solution if you desperately need a result. And I think it's very unlikely that someone has studied this in depth, right? If you study this gambit a little, you might be able to get a result. If your opponent moves to a square where you have everything under control, you have everything covered, you know exactly which squares are bad for them to move to, and if you study it a lot, you can come up with some ideas, right? right from the start. You'll be doing this here. You'll be castling. And if you really have to study a lot, this is an idea for when you need sometimes to get a result. If you need a win at that moment, this could be a weapon for you. Alright, everyone. Cruen Gambit is kind of like the Danish, except you already have this knight developed first. Alright, everyone. So it's like the Danish, just with an extra tempo. You wasted some time developing the extra knight, and in that other one, the bishop. That bishop was here, right? Right? Check out how cool this gambit is, guys. It leads to some really aggressive, very different kinds of attacks, right? Yeah, let's go. Trex's control gambit. You play it, right? In the bishop's opening. This is our bishop's opening, where you bring out the bishop first and then close here, kind of like an English opening, except it's reversed. And now look, it came to this attack here, right? Oops, it went for this attack. And here we're going to launch a counterattack. King capture, check. They defended, and now checkmate is about to happen. Alright, this is just for you to get familiar with it, you know, so you can see how it works. Let me show you the Scott Gambit. Once again, it's similar to the Danish, right? To the Danish Gambit, but with the knight developed. And now you already play, before you move this knight here, you've already pushed the pawn forward, and he responds with 2, right? He responds with d5. And now you can go for en passant. You can capture this knight, and you'll end up in some really sharp positions. Alright, so now let's move on to our next gambit, which is the martial attack, the martial gambit. Take a look here. Guys, we start with d4. We play the Queen's Gambit as usual, and the opponent responds here, right? Now let's attack the center. Let's bombard the center. So, good. We recover with the knight, we defend with the bishop, and he attacks with the queen, because he's attacking here and here, right? So you take there, take with the knight, defend with the bishop, and here you're already threatening checkmate. He defends, right? You were threatening checkmate here on this square with the queen. And he defended with pawn. You advanced the queen and he attacked. Took the bishop, saying, I'm not going to lose for nothing. And now you brought in the rook. Attacked the queen. Check. Recovered. Took a rook. And here you're better. White is already much better. Alright, everyone. Now let's move on to the Cruen Gambit. It happens in the e4 opening. You take this pawn, leave the e5 pawn, push it forward. Now you go for this, the Petrov, and attack this little f7 pawn. I've seen high-level players playing these, because it's just like that other one you need to know in the Halloween Gambit. You have to know all the right moves, because in about 5 moves you'll be able to recover and you'll be able to take control of the situation. So you capture, take control of the center, recapture with the knight, develop the bishop, castle, and just look at the center, look at how many threats you have. Look at how many threats you have here. Look at how your center is completely controlled. So there is compensation, of course, but if you're in desperate need of a result, you can go for it. You can play this gambit. Alright guys, let's move on to the next gambit. Blumenfeld Gambit. Played it normally. And here you're gonna play as if it were the Sicilian, right? But after developing these pieces here, okay, and here he pushed forward, and look, you're preparing your bishops for the attack. Alright, guys, in the Benoni, we're gonna push up right here. Look, in the Benoni, I'm going toe played, right, d4, and you've already played here. Here, you prepare this advance to c5. And look, I really like this position because you've got the whole center under control. You managed to dominate the entire center. You've prepared your bishops so they'll be able to come out soon, right? And this pawn will be able to advance. This bishop here is also getting ready to move into this square. The knight, this knight over here is controlling this area, and this knight is controlling everything here. So just look at the space advantage you have in this gambit. It's incredible. Here the amount of space you have is really, really good. And it doesn't go in right away like in the Benoni. Immediately pushing the pawn to c5. You set things up. First you bring out the knight, then you develop here, and only after that you go in like a well-prepared Benoni. Alright, now let's move on to the next gambit. The Elephant Gambit. Elephant Gambit, it's even a funny name, isn't it? Yeah, you enter the gambit and you pin, right? Because the pawn can't move, it's pinned, and you start preparing here. This gambit is actually pretty funny, only if someone really wants to fall for this one, right? Because it's very hard to fall into it, very hard. It's not a gambit I'd recommend playing, but just so you know for knowledge's sake. Manhattan Gambit. Alright. We start with d4. The opponent replies with a Dutch defense, okay? And you already bring your queen into play. And then you break open the center, right? Break open the center. Break open the center. And here you already bring your bishop into play. And here what happens? What's the idea? Piece activity, right? Here, the knight is gonna come in here. If you need to castle this way, your rook will already be on an open diagonal. It's preferable for you to do that, right? Move the bishop here and castle, and you'll keep having that rook on the open diagonal. So long castling is better, queenside castling. Alright, everyone? Yeah, so that's it. I'll say goodbye here by showing you some of these gambits. Don't play the Baltes Gambit. That was just a joke for you all. And I hope you enjoyed it. Just showing you some gambits explained for you. If you liked it, leave a thumbs up for me. I'm starting to make some videos explaining a few theories. Yeah, write in the comments if you watched up to here, right? I will not play the Baltes Gambit. And leave a comment for me telling me what you thought of the video. Give that thumbs up if you liked it, right? Subscribe to the channel so we can reach 1,000 subscribers, because we have very few right now, but if you help, we'll get there. Alright, everyone, thank you so much to everyone who watched the video up to this point. Thanks a lot!